My name is Lucia. I'm the oldest of 9 children, and I made this documentary for my mom. We were invited for dinner to my sister's house, and we were all sitting down at the kitchen table when the phone rang, and we found out that it was my little brother who lives in Japan, and he called to give us the news that he was a new daddy of a baby girl. And my mom was really happy until my brother found out on the other line that my mom was present in the room, and he made it known that he was not happy and that he didn't want anything to do with her. And my mom just broke down sobbing.
Me llamo Aurelia.
My name is Aurelia. I am a mother of 9 children, and I am here to tell you about a sacrifice made by a mother and her children. The sacrifice made was to allow my mother-in-law to raise some of my children far away from me.
You know, what really touched me was that she said, you know, when was her pain going to stop? And she asked me how she was going to make things better if nobody would listen to her, if they would turn her away. And that's when I knew I had to help her.
As a young child, my stepfather overworked me. Beating and hunger happened every day. I was never allowed to go to school. Many times I ran away from home. Having no place to go, I will eventually return home. When I returned, my mother will tell my stepfather to beat me for leaving. At the age of 13, I ran away with my boyfriend, thinking that this will make my life better. I was pregnant at 14, and I had child every year for the next 7 years. At the age of 19, I had to choose between the welfare of my children, and that hurt in my heart. I will never allow myself to think of my needs. I felt it was my duty to think of them first because they were my responsibility, and they all depend on me to make the right choice.
Well, we interviewed my sister Inez. I was surprised that her point of view and her memories were a lot different. And I think it had to do with her not being sent away to live with Grandma in California. She actually stayed in Mexico up until when my dad died, but she too eventually was sent away to California.
I think it was a sacrifice what she did for us. I think I've thought about that sacrifice like maybe hundreds of times, and I wonder if I would have done it. And it's a hard decision since I did question myself so many times. I think it'd be really hard for me, and now I understand. Now that I'm a mother, I do understand why she did it, because she'd been struggling with my dad so many years, and all that time she'd been pregnant, and she was so tired when my dad passed away that she had to let go with one promise, that one day she was going to reunite with all her kids. And that's when my grandma told her that she could help her out, and she could reunite with time, to give her time, that we were all going to be together. And since my mom had already been here, she had already seen the quality of life from here and the quality of life in Mexico. And she knew that was the best thing that she could do.
When I asked my sister Carmen what she thought about being sent away to live with Grandma in California, she gave me her opinions, but only after she had already said, I don't want to talk about that.
All I remember is, oh, you're going away for a while. Let's put you in the car and send you away. I thought we were just going for a trip. Even after we got there, it didn't even sink in. It was just like, it's not like I had a bedroom of my own to move into. It's just like, oh, you'll be sleeping here from now on. Oh, okay. Next thing you know, there's no more daddy and you don't get to see nobody.
When I interviewed my mom, she mentioned a lot of times the word sacrifice, what a big sacrifice it was to send her children away. So when I talked to my sister Carmen, I asked her what she thought about that. Did she feel it was a sacrifice? And, you know, I was blown away by what she had to say.
Sacrifice sucks. I too made a sacrifice. Actually, I made a lot of sacrifices. I had to grow up without parents. No mom, no dad. I had a grandma and step-grandfather, but growing up in an abusive house, I don't know that would have been any better than growing up with no shoes, nothing to eat. I mean, when you're growing up in an abusive household, I think I would much rather go hungry than get neglected and forgotten about, and I don't know. I sacrificed a lot of things. Crappy childhood, got robbed of a funeral, got robbed of brothers and sisters. Somebody not telling me what it was to be a girl. Yeah, I mean, nobody told me, oh, you gotta use deodorant and when do you use it and feminine hygiene and stuff. I had learned that stuff all on my own.
There were many reasons why I allowed this happen, but the three biggest reasons were: 1. I want to my sick child to be able to live and grow to become an adult.
Bernardo needed heart surgery, and because of that, he always had special attention. He always had to have a sibling with him, you know, and that was part of the reason why my mom would let us go to California without her.
2. My children were suffering physically and mentally from seeing their father on his deathbed. He had diabetes with many complications, but his greatest illness was his alcoholism.
I think my mom had very strong reasons for doing what she did, taking the decisions she did. You know, and oftentimes I wonder if my brothers and sisters realize or appreciate that.
3. I wanted a better life with the greater opportunities and brighter future for my children, all of which I could never provide.
When I look back on what our life was in Mexico and everything she was going through and everything we were going through, I think she made a very good decision. I often wonder if they will ever appreciate that. I asked Carmen and I asked Inez that, and they both had different answers. And what surprised me was at one point they said, as a kid, this is what I think, but now that I'm an adult, this is what I know. And maybe it takes to be an adult and be in that situation to be able to better understand or accept the decision that she made.
She really did think that she was going to sacrifice, and it was really hard, but every time she picked up the phone and heard those little voices saying that we were happy, that we had what to eat, that we were going to the park, we were going to the movies, she thought that sacrifice was the best thing that she could have done. And now, I do think it was worth it, because we are not criminals. We're hardworking people that stand up for our beliefs, and we stand up for our family.
I myself personally would not have made it. I think I would much rather have like all my kids with me and we would have all starved to death or So yeah, I think I'm not the only one that made a sacrifice. She made a sacrifice. I think everybody sacrificed something. Maybe others more than me, I don't know. I see some of my brothers and sisters now, and I know people I've known less than them better. I can sit down next to my little sister and not know what she's about. Because I don't know her personally. Just because we come from the same parents doesn't mean I know anything about her.
It wasn't until I became a parent myself that I understood how hard those decisions are to make. What a big sacrifice it is to put your children's needs before yours.
Many times I doubt if I had made the right decision when my sick husband will say, "Don't separate yourself from your children," when I had no communications with them. I did not know what was going on. Many, many times when I would call my mother-in-law to speak with my children, she will say, "They are not here." Not having communication with them was very hard for me.
I'd had to stop the camera many times to give her a chance to regroup, to stop the crying, to stop the pain, because that's what it looked like to me, something painful. And, you know, she would often say that. She said, "No, I'm not so sure if that was a good decision. Why do you ask that question?" I said, "Because I want to know, do you think if it was worth it?" And she said, "You know, sometimes I had doubts." And I'm thinking to myself, wow, woman, you're having doubts about that decision. I have doubts about my whole life. I had 1,000,001 questions that nobody was willing to answer for me. And I thought it was my duty to go to the source. So I would travel every time that I had a chance back to Mexico and meet with her. And you know, she would never really want to talk about certain things, but one way or another, I got my question in. And whether it be a good or a bad answer, I always got an answer. And I'm grateful for that, because that has made me understand so many other things. I thought this was going to be a lot easier, but it turned out to be a lot harder, because a lot of hidden feelings and memories started surfacing. Things that I thought I was over. I really wasn't. I was just putting them on the back burner. Things that my sister cared not to talk about. She was forced to think about, even though she didn't want to talk about it, she still had that memory resurface. And it was a lot harder than I thought.
Many times I feel so sad. I drink, but I will tell myself, this is not right. And I will stop. I miss my children so much.
Yo me vine a enterar que me extrañaba y que me quería cuando yo fui y la visité a usted. Cuando me abrazaba y me decía que me quería, wow, yo decía, en realidad es diferente. Entonces fue cuando yo me enteré que no era no era esa madre fría, sino que simplemente no hubo alguien que la hiciera crecer. Alguien que le diera un consejo. Nunca hubo nadie para usted.
I asked both of my sisters what they thought their decision would have been had they been in the same situation my mother was in when she had to make that decision.
To me, the meaning of family is togetherness, and maybe just because I didn't have that. I mean, I understand now that I'm a grown person that when you got all these responsibilities and you have nobody to turn to, I guess, and help you make those decisions, I can't imagine just handing over part of me. That's like, it wouldn't be worth it.
No pienso que yo lo hubiera podido haber aguantado. Yo pienso que, no pienso que muchas mujeres hubieran podido haber hecho eso. Pero le agradezco, madre. And I love you. I really do.
For me, her decision to send us away, even though it was very painful, even though I had so many doubts, I think it was worth it. I think it was worth it because I can provide for my child. I don't think I would have been able to do that in Mexico because the opportunities for women are just not there. I would not be willing to go back. I would not be willing to bring up my child in that environment. I think that the opportunities for my child to be successful are still not there. And when I say success, I'm not talking about a yacht here and a summer home there. I'm talking about being able to put a roof over your head, being able to provide food, clothing, medical attention. That to me is successful. And as long as I can provide that, I can look at my mother in the eyes and tell her, you did a good job. I am successful. And that's thanks to you. You might have not been there the whole walk, but your sacrifices are what made me successful. And although other people might not see me as a success, I know in her eyes, I am. And that's good enough for me. Before I left Carmen's house, I did have to ask her, you know, how do you feel now? Knowing what you know now, how do you feel about that?
Because coming from a jacked up family, I think I'm doing pretty good.
I asked my mother if she thought her sacrifice was worth making.
Now that I see my grandchildren, I see the condition they live in. I know the cycle has been broken. My sacrifice was worth making. They have a good life. I never lived that way. Life is hard, and as a parent you have to decide what is best, even if it breaks your heart. I know, try to be happy and surrounded myself with my kids and that brings me joy. I enjoy them every minute. Who is totally happy in life? We all have problems and sorrows in our lives. I'll try to do is take advantage of the time, and I know have with my kids and grandchildren. I would like to enjoy more of this, but I don't know when it will end. I sometimes think how dumb my husband was to let himself die. He's missing seeing his grandchildren, his descendencia. I feel nice when my grandkids hug me and kiss me. I need to spend more time with them, but I sometimes feel like a coward because I'm afraid of, of what my children may say. I am afraid to ask them things that may hurt, to receive a slap in the face again. I hope to get to know my children better and have them forgive me for the decision I had to make. My advice for other mothers in similar situation is for you to communicate with your children. That is the only way any sacrifice will be mutually appreciated or tolerated and maybe less painful.
Y sería menos doloroso.